Hello everyone, how are you all? I hope you all are doing good by maintaining your immune system very well by taking care of yourselves, children, due to the crisis of coronavirus in the entire world. So, children, on behalf of Saral School, this is your English teacher, Shri Vidya Muthuvel, welcoming you all to our new academic session of 2020-21, but in a new manner that is in a virtual way. Let us slide on to the next slide, children. In this slide, children, we are going to study how English as a language was been introduced to us. Our invaders, that are the Britishers, who invaded India not only economically but socially as well. They uprooted and invaded our ancient languages such as Sanskrit, Pali, etc., and replaced them with English. They started schools and colleges in English, children. From then, the impact of English was such that our parents during our time took admission for us in the English medium school. So when we entered into the school for the first time, say the lower KG, we heard our teacher speaking to us in English. We heard the reciting voices of A for apple to Z for zebra. The 26 letter alphabets were being introduced to us for the first time. Slowly, we started learning what are the consonants, what are the vowels, that is A, E, I, O, U, and rest of the alphabets were the consonants. And slowly we came to learn two-letter words like TO2, SOSO, then coming to three-letter words, say TOO2 or TWO2, and gradually so on, we learned the more complex level of language, that is English. We were upgraded with the new vocabulary as we were promoted to the higher standards, children. So, English as a language has been studied through structure. Studying the structure of the sentences comes under phonology, children. Its main branch is called morphology, and studying the word is known as phonology. Now, grammar played a major part in understanding English. We learned tenses, the words we spoke, the sentences we formed, the way they were structured. Everything we learned in grammar. Grammar is like mathematics, children. It gives logic to the learning of English as a subject. So, English has gained immense importance in the coming years, children. So, let us see ahead what English has more to offer. Let us slide on to the next slide. Starting with the definition in this slide, the definition is so told by Block and Cameron in the year 2002. They have introduced English as the language is the primary medium of human social interaction, and interaction is a means through which social relations are constructed and maintained. Here, language is the primary medium of human social interaction. Means either when we were young, we used to speak. Like when we were baby, we would try to speak. Our mother and father, they used to understand us by the accents or the broken words which we were learning to speak. So that is the primary medium of human social interaction. Social interaction is when you speak to one person to the other person. So language is the primary medium of human social interaction. And interaction is a means through which social relations are constructed and maintained. So English is a global language, children. We all know. India is carrying trade across the world. So English has a language. It has helped them to have conversation in a very clear manner that maintains the social relations, and it gets constructed in a very accurate manner, and it is maintained for the long time. Simple. uh, it's very simple, children. When we communicate with each other, our ideas that is exchanged, that has to be very crystal clear for the proper outcome, for the proper result to be seen. It is a vital commodity in a globalized world. Vital commodity is what, like things we give and take, right? So communication is a thing that is given and taken. That is, you say something has been said, then you say something again has been said. So it is the vital commodity in the globalized world. Globalization, we all know the term globalization. So English plays a very vital role in this area, children. It means that every people needs and uses language as a means to communicate to each other. The mode of communication, the mode to communicate is to interact, right? The passing on messages. So every people needs some or the other language. If we have seen people having with special disabilities, right? They have the sign language. Only if we get to learn sign language, we can easily communicate to them. So understanding each other through the mode of communication gives the more clearance to the concept, children. People need language to express their needs in many aspects of life. Yes. Only when you know the language, you can express your needs. Express your needs in the sense of, for example, if you are searching a job, you should express yourself. Why are you suitable for that particular job, so that the job opportunity is been grabbed by you. So as the community of the world communication, in the sense, our group, that is our teachers, we teachers will present the topic about English as an international and a global language. This particular paper, that is this particular slide, will focus on discussing the following question. Which are the questions? What is international or global language? Why do we need international or global language? Why English becomes an international or global language? What are the implications of English as an international or a global language in English language teaching? So students, in the coming slides, we are going to get answers for this questions. Why only English has been considered as the global language? Let us slide to our next slide, students. In this slide, children, we are going to see why English has been considered as international or global language across the globe. We'll start with the definition. Smith, 1976, as cited by Sandra Lee McKay. As cited, he's referring as said by Sandra Lee McKay. Through that, Smith defines an international language as the language which is used by people of different nations to communicate with one another. Obviously, children, English is mother tongue of some countries. Not each and every country has mother tongue as their language, or say their official language, such on. In India, we are diversified. We speak many languages. Our mother tongue is different. But then too, we have accepted English as our global language. So it is very well stated in this definition that very well defines international language as the language which is used by the people of different nations. So if India has to communicate, it is definitely going to use English as a medium to communicate with the other countries. So used by the people of different nations to communicate with one another. Another definition to go by David Crystal in 2003, he has defined English as a global language. He says English as a global language gives some ideas on what a global language is. No other language is as spoken as English throughout the world, children. It is the the common language which helps even the layman who is going outside the country to communicate with the people staying in the other countries, so that even he is having the basic knowledge of English, he can communicate and he can get answers back, so that he can survive in that particular country for whatever reason he has gone. So further, he stated that a language achieves a genuinely global status when it develops a special role that is recognized in every country. Just in the second slide in children, I told you that English in India has attained a very immense, no, a status to be recognized. So, such a role will be most evident in countries where large number of people speak English, the language, as a mother tongue. Say, English is the language of mother tongue of countries like New Zealand, Australia, Canada, South Africa, UK, United States, that is US, so on. He further stated that to achieve a global status, a language has to be taken up by other countries around the world. So here he's stating, we all know not all the countries take English as their special language. Say if you go to Japan, people will communicate with you in Japanese. When you go to China, they will communicate with you in Chinese. They will not reply you in English until they come to know that you do not know Chinese, and they converse with you only and only for the business purposes, that is in English, or else they stick to their mother tongue. So that is the reason why David Crystal has told that English has to be taken as a global language. They must decide to give it a special place within their communities. Communities, yes, English has become the part of a community. When we go to school, children, it is a small community which is formed, right? The group of students, teachers, and all. So we are giving particular importance to English in our school. And even though they may have few or no mother tongue speakers. So even if your country does not have the English speaking people, say as I give you example of the Japanese people who speak only in their mother tongue. So these people should give more importance to English to increase their business, say to run their organizations, etc., as they give importance to their mother tongue as well. So let us go on to the next slide, children. So in the slide, children, we will see the ways in which English as a language can be made official language of any country. They have given the ways. Firstly, it is used as a medium of communication in such domains such as government, the law courts, the media, and the educational system. So we have the domains like government, say Savitribai Phule University. Okay, they not only type the circular in Marathi, but they do type the same circular in English as well. Then we see the law courts, where if a petition has to be filed, say, along with Marathi, English has been compulsory to type the petition. Then the media, we see our daily news in the television, where we have Hindi news channels, Marathi news channels, and English news channels. And in the educational system as well, children, we do imbibe a lot of learning of English into our educational system. To get on in these societies, it is essential to master the official language as early in life as possible. So here he's suggesting that if we master the official language, it is only for our good. So we will be able to communicate in a more flexible manner, in a more thoughtful manner. So the message is passed on accordingly, and the reply we get back, it is in a more accurate and a specific manner. So such a language is often described as a second language. So English will be a second language because it is seen as a complement to a person's mother tongue or first language. A very good example, for example, if I am a Maharashtrian, say, okay, so eventually when I'm going to come home, I'm going to talk in my mother tongue, that is Marathi. So this is my first language, and once I get out into the school, say English is my second language, and it is the global language where I put myself in front of the people to express myself, my thoughts to everyone. The second way. Secondly, a language can be made a priority in countries' foreign language teaching, even though this language has no official status. A very fine example I told you in the first slide, see, where Sanskrit, our ancient languages, Sanskrit and Pali, they were uprooted, and the British imposed English into us, right? We have to learn English. They forcefully forced us into this. At that time, English as a language had no official status, children. Okay, so only when they imposed these things, only when the Indians started learning English, then they started teaching English, this language was accepted as the global language, as the official language. So it becomes the language which children are most likely to be taught when they arrive in school, as said by Crystal in 2003. Let us slide to our next slide, children. This slide will put us through why do we need international or global language for communication, children. Here they have put down some reasons. So according to Crystal in 2003, he mentioned thousands of years ago, translation played a central role in human interaction. For example, when ambassadors met on the international stage, there would be interpreters present. What do you mean by interpreters? They are the translators, where they they are the mediator of translating a certain language into the other person's language of which he is known of. So in this way, misunderstanding will appear because of so many languages used in the community. So when there is an interpreter, there are chances of being miscommunication, being formed when the concept is not properly delivered to the person sitting in front, taking the communication part from the person, translating it to the person. There are chances of misconceptions and misunderstanding when the interpreters are not able to translate it in a proper and accurate manner. So this disturbs the whole system for what they are communicating for. So the second reason is, as global community, people around the world will always keep in contact in international forums for political, economical, educational, and many other international affairs, and even in private businesses. So for example, if we take our country, we are into trade in a more global manner. So to have the smooth relations running through, we have adopted English as our international or global language. So this language is very important in the international forums for be it the political point of view, or the discussing the economical point of view, or it comes in the educational part, or even in the international affairs of two countries as well, and even maintaining the cordial relationship in the private businesses. So English as a language has so many aspects that has to be looked through. Another example is that when communities began to trade. So this they have taken example of a more ancient time. When they began to trade with each other, they communicate by adopting a simplified language known as Pidgin. Pidgin, the language has no, identity, children. It has no identity. It is the simplified form of the language, say English. The people in Africa, in some part of Africa, they have simplified English in such a manner. For them, they only want to communicate only in a limited manner. For example, if they are trading, they are communicating only related to trade. That's it, nothing. So it is the simplified version of, very simplified version of English, which combines elements of their different languages. So it is the mixture of language as well. Clear? So let us go to the next slide. Taking into consideration the last slide, where we understood why a country has to have international or global language. What are the reasons? So here, representing the same, United Nations, that is UN, that was established in 1945, and many international bodies such as World Bank, that was established in 1945, UNESCO and UNICEF in 1946, WHO in 1948, etc., were established. Around 190 countries take part in UN bodies and will be represented in single meeting places. So, where the 190 countries sit together, one common language, the one global or international language is English. There is no other language that can be acquired globally. These reasons determine that every people in this world need a language which can be used globally or internationally as medium of communication to enable them to communicate and understand each other easily. So if the people are participating in the UN for the peacemaking reasons, say, okay, so they have to have a global or international language where their messages of to and fro, that is the message that is given and the message that is taken, is communicated in a more peculiar, in a more constructed manner, where the ideas of the communication is being executed to both the parties in the more actual way and a more clearer manner. The need for a global language is particularly appreciated by the international academic and business communities, and it is here that the adoption of a single lingua franca. Single lingua franca is nothing but global language, adoption of global or international language. It is most in evidence both in lecture rooms and boardrooms. That is while communicating as well, and boardrooms as in the meeting as well. So it goes with thousands of individual contacts being made daily all over the globe. So we can take examples. We can take BPOs, business processing operations. We do have the international clients as well, like, where we work for Australian ships, say for example. Yes, we have to we get to know about their vocabulary, the way they pronounce. We are trained into that. We are providing services from our end, from supporting them for the voice call support if they have any technical issues in their area. So the clients that are connected to India as well, they have the medium or mode of communication taken into the consideration of the importance of English. Sliding into the next slide, children. So here is a map representing how English has become a global or international language, children. You can see the map where the green color names of the countries, they have adopted English as their main language. Say Germany, France, England, Wales, Scotland and Ireland, they have adopted English as their global or international language. So this was your example to conclude the last slide. Let us go ahead. In this slide, children, we will look through the brief history of the evolution of English language and how English becomes the international or global language as well. So here you can see English has been classified as Old English, Middle English and Modern English. Through the coming slides, we will understand in detail what this bifurcations means, children. Let us slide ahead. In this slide, children, we will get to know that English has transformed in a very drastic manner. The rulers who ruled the earlier times had a different kind of English. However, due to the change of rulers, there was the change of English as well. Let us see. Let us take into the consideration of Old English first. So, Old English was developed from a set of Anglo-Frisian or Ingvaanic dialects originally spoken by Germanic tribes, traditionally known as the Angles, Saxons and Jutes. Here, the word Anglo-Frisian languages means these languages were used as the West Germanic languages, which include Anglic and Frisian. That is, the Anglo-Frisian languages are distinct from the West Germanic languages due to several sound changes. And the next word is Ingvaanic. Ingvaanic is the language which was spoken by the people grouping of the northern West Germanic languages that consists of Old Frisian, Old English and Old Saxon and their descendants as well, children. So, as the Anglo-Saxons became dominant, so these are the rulers. I told you according to the rulers, the development of English changed. So, as the Anglo-Saxons became dominant in England, their language replaced the languages of Roman Britain. Common Brittonic, a Celtic language, and Latin brought to Britain by Roman invasion. Old English had four main dialects. Dialects, children, for example, if we take Maharashtra, where we speak Marathi, you can very well understand the Marathi uh, form which we speak in Pune is totally different from the form that is spoken in Kolhapur or Satara. So the way they speak, the tone they speak and the way and tone we get to speak is different. the word's pronunciation is somewhere different. So here the languages has been categorized into dialects. The language is Marathi, but the way it is spoken will come under dialects. So here Old English had four main dialects associated with particular Anglo-Saxon kingdoms: Mercian, Northumbrian, Kentish, and West Saxon. So this all languages was taken into consideration. Their dialects was taken into consideration when the Old English was worked upon. It was West Saxon that formed the basis of the literary standard of the later Old English period. Although the dominant forms of Middle and Modern English would develop mainly from the Mercian. The speech of eastern and northern parts of England was subject to strong Old Norse influence due to Scandinavian rule and settlement beginning in the 9th century. So here they have probably given how the rulers changed, and according to the rule how they adopted English from various sectors around the world. Yes, and they spoke about the dialects from where they took the words and the pronunciation from to mix it up and form the Old English. So the Old English was getting to start from the 9th century, children. So let's move ahead. This slide, children, puts us through the idea of conveying the exposure of Middle English around 1100 BCE to 1500 BCE. So in 1066, William the Conqueror, the Duke of Normandy, part of modern France. So Normandy is now the part of modern France. That is William, he invaded and conquered England at that time. The new conquest, called the Normans, brought with them a kind of French which became the language of the royal court and the ruling and business classes. For a period, there was a kind of linguistic class division where the lower classes spoke English and the upper classes spoke French. So you can see here, while English was gaining importance, they considered French as a language that was to be spoken by the upper class, and English as a language where the lower classes people spoke to each other. But in the 14th century, English became dominant in Britain again. So it gained its value back, children. Dominant is ruling, but with many French words added. So English was back with bang again with many French words added to it. This language is called Middle English. It was the language of the great poet Chaucer that revolves around 1340 BC to 1400 BCE. But it would still be difficult for native English speakers to understand today. Yes, children, because the Old English and the Middle English, they had different dialects that is impossible for even the English native speakers to understand. So we can imagine how English has redeveloped itself so that we can make it as a part of our life to attain our status globally. So let us see ahead and let us go to the early modern English in the next slide. This slide will give us an idea about the modern English and initially about the early modern English started in 1500 BCE to 1800 BCE. Towards the end of the Middle English, a sudden and distinct change in pronunciation, that is the great vowel shift, started, with vowels being pronounced shorter and shorter. From the 16th century, the British had contact with many peoples from around the world. So this here we can see a drastic change where the early modern English has taken a bounce onto the early modern English by cutting short its language but maintaining its quality. This and the renaissance of classical learning meant that many new words and phrases entered the language. Renaissance is change, children. So the change in the language. So this and the renaissance of classical learning meant that many new words and phrases entered the English language. In the last slide in the Middle English, we learned that French was mixed with English. So now here the new words and phrases are being entered into a more classical manner. The invention of printing also meant that there was now a common language in print. Books became cheaper and more people learned to read. Printing also brought standardization to English. That's very true. When anything, the book, the novels, the short story books, whenever it has to be printed, it has to be a standard form of any language. Any language that is in printed, children, it is being printed, it has to be in a very standardized form. So while these books were being printed, say even the newspapers, the standardization of English was being formed. Spelling and grammar became fixed, and the dialect of London, where most publishing houses were, became the standard. So the dialect of London was accepted during the early modern English period, children. At that time, it became standard. The dialect of London was being instilled in English, and that became standard while printing books or newspapers. In 1604, the first English dictionary was published. Let us move ahead. Now coming to the modern English, that is the late English which we are learning in this era, children. That is from 1800 BC to present. The main difference between early modern English and late modern English is vocabulary. Late modern English has many more words arising from two principal factors. Firstly, the Industrial Revolution and technology created a need for new words. Secondly, the British Empire at its height covered 1/4 of the earth's surface, and the English language adopted foreign words from many countries. We all knew that British did not only capture India, it captured many parts of the world, and while capturing, they instilled their language as well, like their dialect of speaking English and the new vocabularies from them, and taking that particular words into English and then phrasing it. So when British had power, children, they forced English upon everyone because they introduced many words, many phrases in English as such. So here we come to know about how English has evolved with its branches, as we learned Old English, Middle English, yes, then the modern English, we had the pre-modern English and the late modern English. Yes, now we will move on to our next slide, children. As in the last slides, children, we saw the branches of English, yes, and how English has had its own revolution. Here is one such example of English varieties in Singapore. So they have given us the standard form of English, clear? Then the standard Singapore English and Singlish. Let us see The first example, standard English is used for wider communication and official purposes. Then second, standard Singapore English. It is used for primary education and local news. So standard English is used globally, children, for the wider communication perspective. Standard Singapore English is used for the primary education and for the local news. Singlish is used with family and friends. For example, we use Hindi and English at times when we converse with our friends. Yes, that is Hinglish. You can tell I had bangan ka sabzi today. So where English that I had bangan ka sabzi like today. Hai na? So this word has been mixed. So we use Hinglish in India. So they have used Singlish in Singapore. So like example they have given, she can sabo by them. That means she was subjugated by them. So sliding ahead, children, we will see the more important parts where standard English is used. This slide takes us through, children, the branches where standard English has been used. So starting with the definition, Longman Dictionary of Applied Linguistics defines standard English as the variety of a language which has the highest status in a community or nation and which is usually based on the speech and writing of educated speakers of the language. This simply means that there is a standard form of English that has been established, and the people who are well educated can adopt this standard form of English to communicate with each other in a more prominent manner. We can see the bifurcations of standard English given. The standard English has been used in the news media and literature. Yes, because there are certain rules that has to be followed when you read the particular news, and whenever you write stories or say novel or short stories or whatever it is, there are certain rules that has been taken into consideration, taking the image of standard English in mind. Then it is taught in schools and taught to non-native speakers that do not belong to that place, and described in dictionaries and grammars. So it clearly states if the word's meaning is, for example, if I take spell, S-P-L-L, okay, so the spell, it is going to, the meaning in the dictionary is we going to, how we are going to spell that particular word, the spelling of the particular word. So that is the standardized form and it is not going to change. So going ahead, children, let us see how we take English into our educational system. What are the skills acquired by us while learning English as a subject in a school? Let us slide ahead. So this presentation puts us through the 4 major skills while learning English, children. The skills that we acquire while learning English that not only helps us in English language, but to understand English as a language that is used for other subjects as well. The first skill is listening. As I told you in the earlier slides, when we enter into the KGs, our first initial skill is listening, because only when you listen, you understand. Only when you understand, you conceptualize. And only when you conceptualize, you can result it in a very peculiar manner. The second major skill is reading. Why reading? Because only when you read, your pronunciation, your tone, your intonation skills have been tested. Plus, you learn how to spell out or read out the new vocabulary words that have been inserted into your textbook. So when you read, you understand. When you understand, you can relate your reading skills to many of these to many of the examples. The third major skill is speaking. While speaking English, we have to keep in mind our pronunciation, our intonation skills has to be very proper, because listening and reading gives birth to speaking children. While speaking, you gain confidence to put yourself in front of any person or to reveal your thoughts in front of group of people. The fourth major skill is writing. It is very essential because when you have something to be expressed, not only orally but in the written form as well, it is very essential you know the spellings of the words you are writing. For example, you take part in the essay writing competition. Along with your analytical and logical skills, your understanding of words, their meanings, their spellings comes into the major part of consideration. So English as a language has to be merged with these four major skills: listening, reading, speaking and writing. Clear, children? So let us go ahead and see what is been given in the next slide. Through the coming slides, children, we will put a quick review of how English is important and how it has origin and evolved in a certain manner. So we'll see what is language. So in this slide, children, what is language? Language is a phenomena that gives meaning to your communication. Language is the name given. For example, say English, Tamil, Malayalam, this is just only the name given. But what makes it a product? The effective communication gives the main value to the product, that is English, that is the language. The language is the product. Only effective communication can make the product successful. So language is our primary source of communication. It's the method through which we share our ideas, thoughts with others. Some people even say that language is what separates us from animals and makes us human. So animals have their own language, children. We all know that very well. They do not communicate, but yes, through their actions, communication is being understood by us as well. But they cannot communicate like us in various languages. There are thousands of languages in this world. Countries have their own national languages in addition to a variety of local languages spoken and understood by their people in different regions. So this is well understood. We all know that there are thousands of languages in this world and all countries have their own national language. I gave you example of nations speaking English, like China speaks Chinese and Japanese people speak only Japanese. Okay, so in addition to the variety of local languages spoken and understood by their people in different regions, some languages are spoken by millions of people, others by only a few thousand. So it depends how a language has been impacted upon them or what impact the language has created while communicating. So let us slide to the next slide, children. This slide, children, gives us a quick recap of which we initially learnt about. So why we learn English? English was originally the language of England, which we learned in the previous slides. But through the historical efforts of the British Empire, we read that British had invaded not only India but many parts of the world. So because of the historical efforts of the British India, it has become the primary or secondary language of many former British colonies such as US, that is United States, Canada, Australia and India. Currently, English is the primary language of not only countries actively touched by British imperialism. Imperialism is what? The colonies which they forcefully captured, but also many business and cultural spheres dominated by those countries. So where the Britishers, where they imperialized the colonies, right? Say that people not only spread that particular English to their level, but they started speaking all around the spheres as well. Spheres means the people who were around them. It is the language of Hollywood and the language of international banking and business. So the World Bank we know, so that comes under, you know, Hollywood is the English language. We all know. We have seen Hollywood films. So the World Bank, we know that it comes under the Hollywood area, the criteria. As such, it is useful and even necessary language to know. So this helps us to understand the banking system, how they work, and English plays a very crucial role in everything. Let us go ahead stating the reasons why we learn English in the next slide, children. This slide takes us through the reasons to learn English, why one has to learn English. Some people feel burdened to learn English. So to understand why it is necessary to learn English. English as a language is essential to work. For example, if I'm speaking to you, I'm working for you, I have prepared a PowerPoint presentation for you. So without understanding the PowerPoint presentations, rules and principles, how I have to insert the slide, how I have to type, without understanding these concepts, I could not have reached you. So it is essential to work. It is a universal language, as we discussed it. It will open the doors of new cultures. We have seen India adopting the Western cultures, not only in technology but in other aspects as well. You will travel comfortably when you have a universal language in your tongue. You can converse with the people in out country very well, even if it is not their mother tongue as well. It is the most learned language apart from the other languages. Art and Anglophone literature, that is, we study the ancient English, and eliminates weakness. Weaknesses. Eliminates weaknesses is what? While you learn English, you gain certain confidence, children. The confidence of getting work, the stage confidence of putting yourself in front of people to express yourself, get the accolades, everything. So sliding ahead, we will see the power of English language. So here this slide states, children, what is the power of English language? Where do you stand? What do you achieve when you learn English as a language? When you learn to communicate English as your language. So people know the importance of it, and this is why this language is taught as a basic language in every state. You can say schools, in institutions. There are spoken English classes as well. So through this, we can just judge the importance of English in a more global manner. Speaking internationally, it would be really difficult to prosper. To prosper is to come up in this world without knowing English. When it comes to globalization, the first language that comes to mind is English. To create a world of ethically responsible and equitable and tolerant, the English language plays a key role. So this means to create a world of ethically responsible. Ethically responsible is what? Every human being has to educate himself. So where he is ethically responsible of adopting the global language, equitable and tolerant. Our mother tongue, it's for sure our mother tongue comes for the first preference. Yes, so we should not discriminate the languages. We should understand the importance of Indian language, sorry, English language in the international level. So we have to treat both the languages in a very equitable manner, and we should not learn English in a very tolerant way. We should learn it in a more masterminded way, where where we are being helped by this particular language to put us through in many situations, and many situations of life in front of anyone, say. So there the English language plays a key role. Okay, so when you see Hollywood movies, yes, they do put the translations in English down, and they dub it in Hindi as well for when the tape comes to India. So they do understand. So you can see they are not putting our language down. So equally we have to be responsible for our own upliftment. Actually only we can help ourselves. So here English language plays a key role. You can get from each field event in business communication with customers and other delegates. It is very important to exchange and share our thoughts and innovations. Thus, business grows children. Only when the ideas are exchanged. For example, you're very creative, but you are unable to express your thoughts in front of your delegates. Delegates are your clients. If you're not able to express your thoughts at all, your idea is definitely not going to reach them. And without the reaching part of ideas, without the ideas being reached, your plan is never going to be successful. So learning language, language is just the tool of communication. So how your tool has to be, obviously it has to be sharp edged. Keep on updating the language, whatever you learn, even if it is your mother tongue. So here we are speaking about English. So obviously it is a prime responsibility to keep on updating our vocabulary every now and then. Let us slide down to the next slide. So students, I hope you might have enjoyed my presentation. My explanation has reached to one and all of you in a very well mannered. I hope you understood the implications of English in our daily lives, not only today, but till the day we die. That is English, we can say, from the womb to the tomb, actually. So that is from your mother's womb till the tomb. That is your place where you are buried. So I thank you all to join my session. Enjoy yourselves and keep learning. Thank you, students. This is your English teacher, Shri Vidya Muthuvel, signing off on behalf of Sarit School. Take care and be immune.